Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of New Gameplay Today. I am your host, Suriel Vazquez. Jeff Cork is not available for this episode, so I will be taking the reins. With me is Matthew Kato.
How's it going?
Good. I heard you were about to take me to Paradise City, where the streets are dirty and the crashes are real pretty.
That's one of the things they say, that's right.
Yeah. So you're showing off, immediately getting into some action here in the crash mode.
The contentious crash mode.
Yeah.
Yes, I am crashing it up right now.
Showtime, is that correct?
Yes, it is called Showtime, and you can just kind of go into it whenever you want, which, you know, is different than some of the more choreographed, sort of set pieces of previous Burnout crash modes. But as you can see, there's certainly plenty of action to be had, intersections certainly where you want to be in this mode. And it's got multipliers and all that kind of stuff. So it's that kind of mix. But again, that's sort of the contentious part of this game.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in the office sort of prefer 3 just because it has a more dedicated crash mode. But as someone who, that never was sort of the main appeal of Burnout for me, I definitely prefer the way Paradise integrates it a lot better into the actual just driving around, making it an open world driving game. But yeah, so you've been playing a lot of the remaster, right, Kato?
Yeah, I've been playing some of it, yeah. Uh-oh.
Oh, these slow motion crashes are so good. And just, you go from, wrecked to just being back on the road, so quickly. And that's, what I really liked about Paradise was just that you were just constantly driving. It doesn't matter where necessarily. They added this, billboards there, just exploring the world and just smashing into stuff. I thought they translated the driving of previous Burnout games into an open world. But from what you've played of this remaster, which is I believe it's out on Xbox One and PS4 and also PC today actually. What do you think stands out? What are you most excited to revisit, and what stands out as different?
Well, like you were saying about the structure of the game and sort of the philosophy behind it, as an open world racing game that lets you come and go out of things, that lets you, that mixes crashing with racing, which is not necessarily easy because that's kind of two different, philosophies. Are you supposed to race first? Are you supposed to love getting into crashes?
Yeah.
That's still sort of a nut that developers are still, working around. And for Criterion, it's it is a nice merging their philosophies. So my point being is that looking back at that and experiencing it now, it is pretty cool how forward-thinking in a lot of ways this game is and how it sort of stands up, where it's just these are still sort of things that are intriguing today, where it's I just want to race around, I want to race, I want to crash, and then even let's say if I fail out of this, or let's say I'm not doing very well, I can just hit there, and this is one of the features of one of the updates to the past game, but which is in this remaster, is I can just go and restart it, which at the time, back in 2008, wasn't in the original game. This is one of those structural things that you really wanted. But, it is kind of nice where it's okay, the philosophies still hold up. At the same time, I would say if there was, let's say, a negative of this game, it's that there's a few of the sort of modern amenities that you'd still love to see. See how that Second Street sign is flashing?
Yeah.
Now, that's a pretty cool in-world way to tell you to take a left there. Now that can be still a little jarring for people to take your eyes off your car, look up, and see, okay, I've got to turn. So if you're behind in a race, you may blow a turn because you're just not
You're looking
paying
at the
attention.
signs and not the road.
Yeah. And there's also no fast travel in this game, which is one of those things you were kind of hoping that, would there be a way for Remaster for them to
introduce that. Yeah.
to reintroduce that, and it still doesn't have that. So you can call up the map. But it's also just it's not like you're going to be...
It doesn't feel as breezy as sort of a lot of other modern games.
where you're just where was that one street where I had that really cool intersection?
Yeah, you have to
and
look
I
at the map and
that?
look it up.
Yeah, and so you're sort of having... it's a decent-sized city, so you're probably not going to remember all the streets, but you might have to... I'm just trying to start a race here.
Yeah.
You're still in the old one, right?
Oh, yeah. Because you're in position 8 out of 8.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, let's just keep going around. We'll just come with me. I'm sure they'll end it. But, yeah, so it's kind of a weird thing about the remaster. But on the looks department, while you certainly can tell it is, it's an older game. It doesn't look, doesn't look like Forza or something. I think it still looks pretty good. You know,
Yeah,
it looks
this still looks really
pretty
nice.
fast. I think.
Yeah,
and the crashes as well. So
yeah, the crashes look real nice. I think the cars look good enough to where you don't see like, oh, this is obviously a last gen game, but it's also nice to just see just this series return, just because I feel like this was, I mean, there was there was Burnout Crash, but this was really the last Burnout game, and Criterion, who developed this game, went on and did a couple Need for Speed games, and those games had sort of some aspects of Burnout. Hot Pursuit, I think, was pretty generally well regarded, but they weren't, exactly the same. And Forza's done a little bit more arcadey stuff with the Horizon series, but nothing has sort of approached sort of the absurdity of what we're seeing on screen now, which is this car sort of levitating around an intersection. The games have not really returned to this for a few years.
This is what you get a real, a total top-notch, state-of-the-art physics engine for. So
exactly.
You can reproduce totally unrealistic physical situations.
For sure. And there have been some arcade racers. There was Blur. There was Split Second. But again, I think Burnout to me still feels like, it's Burnout Paradise especially, just feels like the defining arcade racer in a lot of ways. Just like I could go back and play this game for a really long time, and I'm glad it's coming back.
Yeah, one of the things, I think it was maybe it was one of the Need for Speeds, not the last one, but the one before that, where they went kind of open world, and there was some different structures they were trying to introduce. It was funny because they didn't have the kind of things that this game has, which is like, I just want to go around the world. If I smash signs, I get credit for it. It tells me that there's like 400 some, smashable signs in the world, or there's some super big jumps. That Need for Speed game from a couple years ago didn't even have those sorts of open world amenities, and it's one of the things that makes this game so, like you're saying, it's just so much fun to just go around, is because you're going to find something. Oh, there's a sign right there.
It's an open world driving game, and they make sort of the act of driving around really, really special, just by making it part puzzle, part exploration, and just making sure you're driving really fast as often as possible.
Yeah, there's some of those super jumps.
Yeah, like there's just on our way here, there was just a random jump from a bridge, and one of the weird fantasies of Burnout has always been like driving in areas that usually, if you're driving on the road, you're not supposed to drive into. You'll see a bunch of signs saying "Don't drive here," and you'll just smash through everything on the way there. Just construction areas, random areas on a bridge that are under construction, and just smash through anything that tells you no, don't drive here.
Yeah, you'd be like, oh, flashing lights and a bunch of do not enter signs.
Right.
So I better go over there.
Drive right
there
through that.
There it is. Here we are.
Exactly. Which does not encourage safe driving, but it's still fun to do. So speaking more about the remaster specifically, you mentioned that restart feature. What have you noticed anything else that sort of spruces up the experience a little bit?
Well, there is, like the day to night. There is the motorbikes, which, let's say if I was to go to a garage and to switch, I could switch right into the motorbikes. It also has like the day to night, or like there's like different records for night races,
oh, really?
I believe. Again, which is all the DLC. And one of the things that when we just started, we were coming over the bridge from the Big Surf Island, which is a little separate island. And that again is part of the DLC, right. So you can see both of those.
So they include all of the DLC, because I know they had that Year of Paradise bit where they just added a bunch of free stuff, and then they had more paid stuff. Does it have any of the paid stuff? I remember specifically there was DeLorean DLC. Is any of that stuff back?
I am not sure. I do know what you're talking about, but I'm going to be honest with you. Oh boy,
ooh, there's a juicy crash.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, because that stuff was pretty cool to see, and just having it all bundled in one place, I think would be pretty cool. But do they have? I actually one of the reasons I stopped playing was because the online store in the PC version was kind of bugged, and it just wouldn't load for me, and it just took forever. So it would take me like 3 minutes. Is there anything you can buy additionally, or is this just here's the entire game and no need to hit up an in-game store?
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
Okay, so
yes,
it's all in one package.
Yeah, I believe it's a pretty complete package in that sense, or self-contained, so to speak.
Okay, so I think so far for the remaster, it's just that restart mode and all the bundled DLC. Anything else you can think of that sort of they added in this version?
No, not that I can think of.
All right, and it's out today, right?
That's right. Yes,
Okay, it's out
is,
today
yeah.
on PS4, Xbox One, and PC, I believe.
Yeah, and it is, just for a sort of full disclosure in a way,
Yeah.
it is backwards compatible on Xbox One X.
Right.
And so I admit I have not compared the two like side by side to see how it stacks up. I mean, I assume this looks a lot better. But if you have that other version, one thing maybe that in its credit is that I think back in the day this did move fast. It did look good to begin with. So you bet you even if you have the backwards compatibility one, I wouldn't be shocked if that still looks pretty good and moves pretty good.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's gonna do for this episode of New Gameplay Today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here, Matt.
Yeah, thanks.
Can you give me a Jeff Cork? Bye.
Oh, here's my Jeff Cork. Bye.